I'm Travis Downey, and this is Adam Rosenberg, and this is this week's edition of the Northwest Florida Daily News This Prep Football Blitz. Gets you guys set for Friday night action. And looking back at last week, Adam, Niceville moves to 2-0. They continue to impress. A big win over Choctaw, 28-0. Navarre holds on. Walton just guns ablaze, and the Raiders hold on for a big win there. What kind of stood out to you from last week's slate of games?
Well, I was up there in Crestview, and obviously Crestview just put the hurting on West Gadsden, and that probably wasn't much of a surprise. But the biggest surprise, I got a text message from you telling me what the score was over there in Navarre.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You know, I knew Walton was a good football team with some good skill players, but I did not expect them to hang in there with a bigger club in Navarre. And hats off to the Braves for hanging in there and almost pulling off the upset, because that's what stood out to me. And the fact that Navarre was resilient enough to come back and end up winning the game.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Hats off to Navarre as well. You know, they go win at halftime trailing. Looks bad. Even there late in the third quarter, they get a win there at home. That was big for them, 2-0. That was last week's games. Let's go ahead and look at this week's games. We'll start with Rocky Bayou. Josh Childers and the Knights got a big win last week. Picked here.
We did.
Correctly for once. 35-0 over Peniel. This week, it's at Franklin County. It's a district game for these guys. How do you see this one going?
You know what? I'm riding the night train until they go off the rails. I'm going to predict them to win again. The defense has looked strong in two straight games. You know, the offense is obviously they're a work in progress, but they put up 35 points last week. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, this is a team that's got its taste of winning, and they probably had a good week of practice, and I think they're going to go ahead and do it again.
It's just weird. Rocky Bayou and defensive impressive. It's just hard to put those words together. You're right. They've looked good. I'm going to go with Franklin County. I just think Franklin County. I like what Rocky Bayou's doing. I think that they still may have a win or two or more. Who knows in the season? But I'm going to go with Franklin County in this one. And then moving on to District 1A, Bozeman at South Walton. How do you like this one?
I'm going to go with South Walton. You know, they lost last week, coming off an impressive Week 1 win. I think playing at home, you know, looking at what Bozeman's done early in the year, nothing jumped out at me. And and when in doubt, when I don't know a whole lot about either team, I'm going to go with the home team. Yeah. And with a good coach and Coach Barron. Yeah, this was a one-sided game last year for South Walton. They won pretty easily. It's a new season, a new team. I like South Walton too. You know, last week's loss, 27-20 loss, it featured a lot of costly turnovers by the Seahawks. I think they'll fix that situation, hold on, have a little bit better ball security, and I think they'll get the win. Staying in that district, we'll go to Jay at Freeport. Freeport beginning that title defense. How do you like their first effort? Well, this is a game that I'll be at, and you know, again, home team, a team that struggled in their first game, but that was on the road. And this is also a team that, you know, Jay, from what I've heard, you know, through my sources, has not exactly looked good so far early this year. Again, you got to like the home team. You got to like a team that, you know, of course they lost a lot of pieces from last year, but they're a team that learned how to win last year, and they want to start off on their home field defending in their district on the right note, and I think they're going to come out ready to play. And
you know, Jim Anderson, the head coach there at Freeport, this is his 10th season, and he has yet to beat Jay at home. I think it happens this week. I like Freeport. They went on the road and took a big loss to Milton, but just like last year, that was a springboard for them for bigger and better things. I like Freeport to at home to get a win and start district play 1-0. Still in District 1A, Baker on the road at Vernon. How do you size this one up?
I'm going to go with Vernon. Baker, you know, early season schedule for them has been tough.
Yeah,
starting off with Crestview, Vernon's another good team. I just think Baker's still trying to establish the depth and those things that they have to deal with, and going on the road, it's going to be tough. I'm going to go with a Vernon team that, you know, it seemed like a fairly unanimous pick among our experts.
I'm going to go with Vernon as well. I like where Baker's heading. I like the players they have over there, but I'm going to go with Vernon in that one. Speaking of another seemed unanimous among us, it's a hard word for me to say, Walton at University. Walton, I'm going to go with Walton. After seeing Liam Miller last week, 420 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Corliss Stone, I think, had 10 catches, 220 yards, a couple touchdowns in that one. That offense is just clicking on all cylinders right now. If they can get any kind of defense, this team is going to be a real threat in the district. I'm going to go with Walton to get the win.
You know, and there's two schools of thought you can go with this game. You could say, well, yeah, they put it all on the line against Navarre and they came up short, so maybe they come out flat. I tend to think they put it all on the line and came up short. They're going to be a little angry.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, they probably think they should have won that game against Navarre, and they're going to take it out on a team that's a little more I guess, their size,
Right.
and they're going to take it to them pretty handily.
Moving up to District 2-4A action, Crestview on the road at Tate. How do you like this one?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know anything about Crestview so far this year because they haven't really played anyone, and that's not to say that they're not good.
Right.
It's just to say that we don't know if they're good.
Right.
They beat West Gadsden pretty bad last week, but they had a few turnovers. The running game looked pretty strong. Garrett Teal, threw the ball well. There was a few key drops early that if they catch those balls, it might have even been worse. And the defense looked strong. I think this is going to be a week that we learn a little more.
Yeah.
Pace is a step up in competition, but I think Crestview is going to go ahead and win this game and keep the good momentum from early in the season going.
Yeah, Tate, you look at who they've played. They had that loss to Pensacola. They still rushed for 194 yards. In their win against Washington, 436 yards rushing. So they can pound the football. Tate, they're a really strong football team. We don't know what Crestview has. As you said, it's a 2-0 record, but it can be deceiving at times. I'm still going to go with Crestview for some reason. I just like Crestview. I think they're going to go on the road and take care of business, get this win. Stick it in the district. Fort Walton Beach off of a bye week following that loss at Navarre. They're on the road at Pace. Should be a pretty smash-mouth game. Who do you like in this one?
Well, of course, Fort Walton Beach is playing Pace. I think I said Crestview was playing Pace. My apologies. I'm going to go with Fort Walton Beach. They, I'm sure, were absolutely shocked by what happened to them in week one.
Yeah.
No one knew really what Navarre had, and everyone thought probably Fort Walton Beach would come out a little stronger than they did. I think they've had a week to regroup and get after it on the practice field. I think Coach Owens has kind of, I'm not saying this was the case, but if they did maybe think a little more highly of themselves than they deserved, they brought them down a peg, and,
Sure.
and the loss will do that to you. And that's to be expected from a younger team early in the season. I think they're going to come out and they're going to look strong, and Fort Walton Beach is going to get the big win on the road.
Pace has only allowed 13 points in 2 games. Fort Walton Beach scored 0 in their 1 game this season. The past 2 meetings between these 2 schools decided by 1 point, each going to the home team. All right, so we're on the road at Pace. Fort Walton Beach's offense is struggling. It would seem like Pace would be the right pick. I'm going to go Fort Walton Beach too, a little reversal. I just think Fort Walton Beach, they took a shot to their pride with that loss to Navarre, and I think they're going to come out ready to play. And I think they'll go and on the road squeeze one out at Pace. And that brings us to our game of the week, Pine Forest at Niceville. Niceville 2-0. Some didn't see that one coming. How do you like this game?
Well, we were the ones that didn't see that coming. We picked against them
gonna
there in
name
week
names.
1.
Right.
But I'm going to pick Niceville till they prove me wrong. I mean, the defense has been outstanding so far this year. They've allowed 14 points in 2 games,
Yeah.
and one of those was a late touchdown against Lincoln with the reserves on the field. Niceville, I think the defense and the running game, they still haven't found the passing game yet, but at this point, it doesn't look like they necessarily need to.
Right.
I'm sure Coach Hicks would like them to develop that to, take the burden off the run game, but I think between running and defense, that's what gets wins in high school football, and I think they're going to continue that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying, well, this will be the true test for Niceville and the true test for how good this defense is. Lucius Purifoy, verbal commit to Florida, ton of speed. And that offense, it's an option-based offense with a lot of speed. John Hicks has spoken to that a lot in the last few days. I'm going to go with Niceville. I like that defense, and I like that running game. And I'm anxious to see how this defense reacts to the speed that they're going to see on that Pine Forest offense. But like you said, until they prove me wrong, I'm going to stick with Niceville to win this one.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Blitz, and we'll see you again next week. Hope you enjoy your Friday night football.